Well, as Russia's invasion of Ukraine enters its fourth week, a diplomatic solution appears no closer. Despite Russia's continued bombardment and Ukraine's dogged resistance, the leaders of both sides say they still hold out hope. Is there any chance of finding common ground in a war that has already claimed 700 civilian lives? Well, Don speaks to Dmytro Kuleba, the Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Minister Kuleba, thank you for joining us. First of all, what can you tell us about the latest discussions with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov? He claims that Ukraine is to blame for stalling the talks. What are the key roadblocks to these negotiations?
Well, I would like to remind that it was Russia who attacked Ukraine under absolutely false pretext, lying about the alleged genocide by the Ukrainian government committed against its own people. The International Court of Justice, the highest judicial authority in the world, recently ruled out that it's found no evidence of this crime committed by Ukraine. So when Minister Lavrov continues to accuse Ukraine of all the faults, he is simply misleading the international audience. We are ready to negotiate. We are ready to look for balanced solutions. But of course, we will not surrender as Russia demands us to do.
Meantime, the Russian forces are continuing their assault across your country, Minister Kuleba. Can you tell us what the current state of the existing so-called safe exits are in the country for the people who want to flee from this violence?
Well, there are humanitarian corridors from the most endangered cities, which allow residents of these cities, both Ukrainians and foreigners, to leave safely, to pass safely into the territory of Ukraine untouched by war. When they leave these endangered hot zones, they can move towards the western border with Ukraine and leave to Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, and continue their journey to their homeland. Ukrainian Foreign Ministry and officials on the ground provide all foreigners with necessary assistance to allow them safe exit from the country. Unfortunately, the most difficult part is, of course, to guarantee the ceasefire from the Russian side as they continue to shell civilians and to fire at civilians. But we are taking every opportunity to help everyone who wants to leave Ukraine to do that.
Meantime, Minister, one of the things that Ukraine has repeatedly asked for, but has not had any success in receiving from the international community, this idea, from NATO specifically, this idea of a no-fly zone. Despite that, we've had lots of support from other countries. What more could be done to support Ukraine in its hour of need now?
Well, Ukrainians have stamina, character, and we understand that we are fighting for our independence, for our territorial integrity, and for our right to exist as a sovereign nation. We have that. But to succeed against the Russian aggression, we need two things from international community. The first one is the supply of weapons, which will help us to defend our country. And the second one is the sanctions against Russian economy and Russian financial schemes in order to put pressure on Russia. And in that context, I would like to thank the government of Singapore for taking principled stance when it comes to supporting sanctions, and also for the humanitarian aid, because this is another element that needs to be provided.
Minister, I think I speak for many Singaporeans when I say we hope that this devastation and these difficulties will soon end for the people of Ukraine. But on a personal level, what are some of your hopes and perhaps fears in the coming days and weeks as we see this fighting continue?
Well, we see that after suffering losses and after the failure of the initial plan for a quick war, Moscow is becoming more and more desperate, and it steps up bombardment of cities from the air by artillery, and more civilians die. I hope they will realize that this barbarian conduct of war is absolutely uncivilized and inappropriate for 21st century, and this must be stopped. I also hope that they will approach negotiations in a constructive manner, and we will be able to find solutions. No one in the world is interested in this war, except one person, President Putin, and those Russians who support him. Even in China, unfortunately, even in Asia, you will feel the repercussions of this war because of the interrupted chains of supply of agricultural products from Ukraine. I may recall that 55% of sunflower oil on the global market is supplied from Ukraine. Every 10th loaf of bread in Middle East, Asia, and Africa is produced with Ukrainian wheat. We didn't want this war. We want peace. We want to trade. We want to be a food guarantor for Asia, for all other parts of the world. But to achieve that, to get back to normality, we have to stop Putin. And therefore, I call all Asian nations to demand from Russia to stop this crazy war.
Minister Kuleba, thank you very much for speaking to us. That was Dmytro Kuleba, the Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Russia's Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov says Moscow is under no illusions about relying on the West as mounting sanctions start to impact. Mr. Lavrov says they will only make the country stronger. At the same time, he's defended the invasion.
Any cargo moving into Ukrainian territory, which we would believe is carrying weapons, would be a fair game. I mean, this is clear, because we are implementing the operation, the goal of which is to remove any threat to the Russian Federation coming from the Ukrainian soil. I would like to remind the countries who might be playing with this idea that the Soviet and Russia made systems of missile defense or of any other purpose are there on the basis of intergovernmental agreements and contracts, which includes end-user certificate. And the end-user certificate does not allow them to send these weapons to any third country without our consent.